Bear Nation, listen up. Things are heating up at Halas Hall, and what's happening behind the scenes could define not just the upcoming season, but the entire future of this franchise. Our GM trying to block the most sought-after offensive coordinator in the NFL? This doesn't sound like strategy. It sounds like straight-up drama. Stick around because we're just getting started. And wait, here's bombshell number 2. A key player from the Saints might be heading to Chicago, and this isn't just speculation. With $82 million in cap space, could this be the move that finally sparks life into a pass rush that's been dead for years? Heads up, because this signing could change everything on the defensive side of the ball. Lastly, Caleb Williams speaks, and his message is crystal clear. He wants a leader who will put him and this franchise on the elite map, and he's even dropped the name of the chosen one. But is this the ideal pick? Or do we stick with a veteran coach like Pete Carroll? Subscribe now if you want to stay on top of the latest Bears news. This is unmissable. Alright, Bear Nation. What on earth is going on here? I stand before you today with this. Ryan Poles, our beloved general manager, seems to be playing three-dimensional chess while the rest of us are playing checkers. According to the latest reports, our GM might be trying to keep Ben Johnson out of Halas Hall. And I've just gotta ask, why? Is this brilliant strategy or desperate protection? Let me tell you something. The heat is on in Chicago, and no one, absolutely no one, has a seat hotter than Poles right now. Here's the scoop. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions, is the most sought-after name in this upcoming head coach hiring cycle. And let's be real, there's a reason for that. This guy has transformed a team like Detroit, the laughingstock of the league, just a few years ago into a respected offensive powerhouse. Yes, we're talking about the freaking Lions! And now, the interesting part. Johnson is reportedly very intrigued by the Bears, largely due to his admiration for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, the generational quarterback we've all been dreaming of seeing wearing blue and orange. But here's where the plot thickens, folks. Word on the street is Johnson isn't all that excited about working with Poles. Oh yeah, you heard that right. And do you know why? Apparently, Johnson is all about total alignment. He wants to work with someone he trusts, and the name floating around to replace Poles, according to rumors, is Lance Newmark, assistant GM for the Washington Commanders and a former close colleague of Johnson's in Detroit. What do you make of that drama? This feels more like a Netflix series than the future of our team. So now I've gotta ask, is Poles protecting his job, or is he putting the team's interests above his own? Because, let's be real, this isn't about whether Johnson can coach. The man has clearly proven he knows what he's doing. What seems to be worrying Poles is the possibility that Johnson convinces upper management that Poles isn't the right person to lead this team long term. How do you see it? Because even indirectly admitting to this would already take a hit on his image as a strong leader. If Poles truly trusted himself and his decisions, wouldn't he be welcoming Johnson with open arms, saying, "All right, let's work together and make this team great"? Now, Ryan Poles seems to be leaning toward another name, Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Vikings. And listen, I have a ton of respect for Brian Flores. He did an amazing job with the Dolphins' defense and is making his mark in Minnesota. But is he what this team needs right now? After years of offensive mediocrity, are we seriously going back to the Bears' old formula? Defense first, offense second? And don't get it twisted, Poles' situation isn't as secure as some experts would have you believe. Sure, he's got the public backing of team president Kevin Warren, but words are just words. The only thing that guarantees survival in the NFL is winning. Is this team doing that consistently under Poles' leadership? Is it enough to justify keeping him at the helm of this project? I think we all know the answer. And let's talk about Ben Johnson for just another second. If the Bears truly believe this is the guy to lead the team alongside Caleb Williams, wouldn't it be worth making the necessary concessions to bring him here? Because let me be very clear, this team desperately needs a cultural shift. We are sick and tired of the same narrative repeating every season. And if that means bringing in a GM who aligns entirely with the head coach to finally give us a clear and competitive identity, I'm open to hearing it. So fans, I'm putting the question directly to you. Should the Bears fire Ryan Poles to secure Ben Johnson as the next head coach? Because I'll say this team needs visionary leaders, ones who are willing to make bold decisions even if those decisions shake up the current structure. Is Poles that guy? Or is it time for a radical change to secure a bright future? Leave your comments below. I want to hear your opinions. Is Poles the problem? Is Johnson the man we need? And most importantly, what would you do if you were in Kevin Warren's shoes? All right, Bear Nation. This is the news that could change the defensive landscape for the Chicago Bears. And listen closely, because I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. One of the latest offseason predictions has Chase Young coming to the Windy City. And I've got to ask, is this what we need to pull this defense out of the mud? I think, honestly, this could be a game-changing move, or just keep us stuck in the mediocrity we've been living with. What do you guys think? First, let's lay out the cards. The Bears' defense has been a headache in recent years, especially when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. Sure, we've seen improvements here and there, but if you ask me what the constant Achilles heel has been, that's right, the lack of a dominant edge rusher. And don't get me wrong, Montez Sweat, who we brought in mid-season after giving up a second-round pick, has been a solid addition, but you can't expect one player to carry the entire defensive line. He needs a partner, someone who can line up on the opposite side, someone that makes opposing offenses think, who do we block first? And that's where Chase Young comes in. The former number 2 overall pick from the 2020 draft, now with the Saints, could be an explosive addition if we use the $82 million in cap space available this offseason to lock him down. According to Bleacher Report, Young is looking for a 2 or 3 year deal, and when you crunch the numbers, the puzzle pieces seem to The guy is only 25 years old, and while his sack totals aren't jaw-dropping 5.5 this past season, he recorded 58 pressures, the 9th best among his position according to Pro Football Focus. Don't come at me saying that's not impactful. Constant pressure, my friends, is just as important as sacks in many situations. Don't believe me? Ask any quarterback who's lived that nightmare firsthand. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Young's production against the run isn't exactly a strength. His PFF grade as a pass rusher is 65.7, placing him 63rd out of 205 edge rushers. He's not in the top 10, not even the top 20, but so when your defense has consistently had one of the lowest pressure rates year after year, any injection of talent is welcome. Pairing Young on the opposite side of Montez Sweat wouldn't solve all our problems, but open your eyes, fans. It would be the first step we've been waiting for to build a fearsome front line. Who? Tell me who? Wouldn't want to see those 2 Ohio State boys reunited? This time wreaking havoc in the cold at Soldier Field? And let me put this on the table. If we don't sign someone like Chase Young, what's the realistic alternative? Do we wait for another miracle draft and bet on a rookie long-term while we keep letting our defense wander in no man's land? I'm going to be honest with you. This team has spent way too much time in a rebuild. It's time to act. Bring us Young, pair him with Sweat, and let's create a duo that will finally bring Chicago a defensive presence we've missed since the days of Julius Pepper. So here's my hot take. Chase Young should be the #1 priority for the Bears defense in free agency. Yes, it'll cost money. Yes, he's not perfect. But when you've got $82 million to spend and a glaring hole on your defensive line, you dig into your wallet and fix it now. Nothing in this league guarantees success, but sitting on your hands guarantees only failure. Do we want to change the narrative or not? Now I'll ask you directly. Is Chase Young worth the investment as the key complement to Montez Sweat? Or do you think the resources should be directed to another critical position, like the offensive line? Because here's the deal. If you don't build from the trenches on both offense and defense, the rest of the team doesn't have a foundation to compete. Drop me your comments below. I want to hear your thoughts. Is Chase Young the answer? How far are you willing to go to give this defense a new identity? Bear Nation, listen up, because this news has more weight than a Hail Mary in the last second of a Super Bowl. Caleb Williams, the quarterback we've all been waiting for to lift this franchise, has spoken. And when a guy like Caleb speaks, you listen. What's the message? Loud and clear, the next head coach of the Chicago Bears has to be someone who pushes the team, challenges them, and pulls them out of the endless cycle of mediocrity we've been living in. And among the names being mentioned, Cliff Kingsbury. So I ask you, is Kingsbury the man who can meet those expectations? Look, before we dive in, let's put this into perspective. Caleb Williams isn't asking for much. He's asking for real leadership. He's asking for someone who will look him in the eye and demand he be better, someone who inspires the entire team to raise their game, both on and off the field. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. It's the bare minimum this team deserves after back-to-back seasons filled with humiliating losses and coaches who clearly weren't up to the challenge. Now, the fact that Caleb specifically mentions Kingsbury isn't by accident, and it should make Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles sit up and pay attention. For those who might not know, Kingsbury is no stranger to Caleb. Back in 2023, Kingsbury worked as a senior offensive analyst at USC, where Caleb had one of his best seasons in college. The connection is there. Caleb knows him. He knows how Kingsbury thinks and the preparation he brings to the table. Does that automatically make him the ideal candidate? Not necessarily. But at the very least, you've got your franchise quarterback saying this is someone he'd be excited to work with. Shouldn't the front office listen to that? I say they should. Now, let's be fair about Kingsbury. Yes, his record as a head coach in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals' 28 wins, 37 losses, 1 tie isn't going to blow anyone away. And sure, his last year there was a bit of a disaster. But before we completely write him off, let's look at what he's done this year as the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Right now, he's got that offense performing as one of the best in the league, working with another rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Doesn't that tell you something? The guy knows how to get the best out of young quarterbacks. And if there's one thing we need right now, it's to maximize Caleb Williams' potential. Because let's face it, if this franchise keeps wasting talent like it has in recent years, we'll never escape this rut. On the other hand, we can't ignore the fact that there are other intriguing options on the table. Ben Johnson, the mastermind behind the explosive Detroit Lions offense, remains one of the top head coaching candidates. And brace yourselves for this, there are even rumors that Pete Carroll, yes, the same Pete Carroll who took the Seahawks to the top, might consider returning after a year off. Can we afford to ignore names with that kind of experience and proven success? I don't think so. That puts the Bears in a unique crossroads. Do you go with a young, innovative coach like Kingsbury or Johnson, or do you bet on someone proven like Carroll? Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't an easy decision. Kingsbury has his flaws as a head coach, we all know. But what we also know is this. If Caleb Williams, the future of this franchise, feels like Kingsbury is the type of coach who can unlock his potential and push him to the next level, shouldn't we at least take that seriously? Because let me tell you something, any success the Chicago Bears have in the coming years will run through Caleb Williams' development and leadership. If you're not building around him, then why did you draft him first overall in the first place? And here's the most important point. Whatever decision is made, it has to challenge this entire franchise. Caleb's words, not mine. We need discipline. We need accountability. We need a leader who isn't afraid to make tough decisions and shake up the team culture. Whether it's Kingsbury, Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, or someone else, the expectation has to be that this new head coach will not only change the playbook, but also transform the DNA of this team. So, Bear Nation, let me leave you with this to think about. If you were in Kevin Warren's or Ryan Poles' position, would you listen to Caleb Williams and bring in Kingsbury? Or do you think there are better options out there? And most importantly, how willing are you to take a gamble on someone who may have failed as a head coach in the past, but could be the perfect complement to our franchise quarterback's future? Bear Nation, now's the time for you to make your voice heard. Do you think Ryan Poles is steering this team toward the future we've all been dreaming of? Or is it time to start questioning if he's really the right leader for the job? And what about Jalen Johnson? Is he the cornerback we need to solidify our defense? Or should we start looking for stronger alternatives? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let me know how you'd approach this critical offseason from Kevin Warren's seat. And here's the big question. Should we go all in on Chase Young as the perfect complement to Montez Sweat, or would it be wiser to redirect those vital resources to other priority positions like the offensive line? Your opinions count, and this could be the debate that shapes the Bears' future. Finally, let's reflect for a moment here. If you were in Kevin Warren's or Ryan Poles' shoes, would you act on the rumors and listen to Caleb Williams about bringing Kingsbury on board? Would this duo have the potential to transform the team, or would it just be another distraction on the road to rebuilding? I want to read everything you think, Bear Nation. Don't forget to be part of this passionate community, subscribe, and join this big family where we share analysis, debates, and our love for this team. This isn't just a channel, it's a family of fans who live and breathe the excitement of being part of the Chicago Bears. So hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a single update. Let's go, Bear Nation. I'll see you in the comments and in the next video. Bear down.